Greetings, fellow Star Trek fans, and welcome to Captain's Yacht, a Star Trek podcast run by two inner-city high school teachers evaluating the Star Trek universe through the lenses of history and literature. A little reminder before we beam aboard the Captain's Yacht: if you like what you see or have feedback for us, please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and we'd love to hear from you. So, let's beam aboard the Captain's Yacht and see what we're talking about today.
Well, all I have to say before we start is, unfortunately, this isn't a data episode. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
no,
not.
data episode.
So I think this will go a little bit faster. My friend, I'm so glad that you love data as much as I do, if more. We have a competition sometimes. Who loves on data more? What a great character! Just such
Oh, yeah.
the character that made me love the show. Obviously Picard too, but dang, I really like that other character. Really brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's hit it. We cheat a little bit. We're actually technically in episode 14 of the first season, Angel 1, happening on stardate 41636.9. Let's talk the premise. Premise is, while searching for survivors of a human ship, not Federation, the Enterprise encounters a matriarchal society that isn't exactly cooperative, but isn't exactly hostile until the last 5 minutes. Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, everybody is getting sick from a mysterious virus. 2020 is calling again. Okay,
yeah.
quickly, genre, I'm going to call this a political thriller, I guess. I don't really know. A pandemic thriller. It's kind of split. Okay, and I just want to talk about this trope for a second. Matriarchal society. My friends, if you can write a matriarchal society, you should be a published author, because it is one of the hardest tropes to fulfill in a way that doesn't come off as, look at these women acting like men, capitalist men, so to speak, imperialist, colonialist men. You know what I'm saying? It's just really hard to write a matriarchal society and make it unique and not just switch the gender roles, in my opinion. And I've actually listened to like Brandon Sanderson and company talk about this, and it is hard. It's tough. It's actually a great writing exercise. Really makes you evaluate what you believe if you're a male, or, what you believe about women if you're writing this matriarchal society. Yeah, it's a great but totally difficult to master trope. And I'd say like the only other one I can think of is like Drow Society and kind of early Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not done exactly well there either, in my opinion. I mean, it's cool, but it's not exactly, original or super unique. But anyways, that's kind of the main trope we're working with here. There's like a pie in the face gag where Picard gets hit with a snowball coming off the turbo lift. And that usually wouldn't be important. I wouldn't mention that, but it actually kicks off the B plot, which is kind of crazy and disjointed from the rest of the episode. So my friend, take us behind the scenes of Angel 1. What's going on in the writer's room, in Roddenberry's head in the production office with this thing?
So this idea was spawned from a conversation Gene Roddenberry and Herbert J. Wright had at a story meeting in which they wanted to give sexism the quote-unquote apartheid treatment. Roddenberry voices some really interesting views concerning gender dynamics in the United States. Some are extremely progressive and complimentary, some not so much. And again, there's... we can definitely, if we ever do a special episode on Roddenberry's legacy, we can examine that some more. I mentioned that production on season 1 gets some difficulties. This production on this episode in particular came to a screeching halt because when the day came to film the script, there was no script. And they they're actually, even the completed scripts, for dramatic differences from the finished product, they literally patched this episode together on the fly. The Romulans...
And it feels like it.
Yeah. The Romulans are actually Ferengi in the script. This was their last attempt to make the Ferengi dangerous. There were 7 battle cruisers surrounding the Federation outpost. They're supposed to be Ferengi, but they're Romulan on the script. I think that's just one of those things where they just gave up on the Ferengi. There's a subplot where a character by the name of Mistress Di tries to seduce Data as he attempts to study the history of Angel 1. The attempt at seduction goes right over Data's head. It's attempted to go for comedy.
More data in the bedroom, no thank you.
Exactly. So I'm glad they didn't. Well, okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
just
sorry.
good that it's not even there. You want to play it for laughs, that's one thing, but it's probably good that that wasn't there at all. The colonists and the fellow survivors that they're talking about, they're not hiding in this version of the script. Um, Also, it's more obvious that Dr. Crusher takes command of the illness, and the fact that she commanded the Enterprise during the illness because of the illness. That's in the script more emphasized. I actually appreciate that it's more understated, but that's definitely a detail there. Also, a little bit of history here. After production wrapped for this episode, Paramount announced that the show was renewed for a second season.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Based on these 14, there's these 13
Yep.
episodes. Okay.
Yep.
Dope. I like that.
So, in terms of what works in this episode for me, because there's a lot that doesn't. There's a
Let's hit
lot
it.
that doesn't. There are a few sincere attempts at gender progressivism by 1980 standards. Worf makes a comment that "quote unquote" Klingons appreciate strong women. But on the flip side of that, you later learn that women can't serve on the High Council because of old school patriarchy. So kind of fast and loose there.
And couldn't be captains too in the previous installation.
Maybe not the Klingons, but that was actually a Federation thing.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm derailing us. Keep going, my friend.
All good, all good. Picard gives deference to Troy and allows her to introduce herself to Angel One. Also, the women take over positions that men usually do, and usually it's done in a understated way, which I think makes it work better. Lieutenant Wong, a female crew member, fills in for Geordi in fixing the ship. Really subtle. Geordi wants to go down there. Geordi's feeling sick. Somebody says Lieutenant Wong can do it. Yes, Worf says Lieutenant Wong can do it. She can do it, and he goes, "Oh, she can do it," and then stays back aboard. Dr. Crusher takes over the crew when I called it the space cold or space flu, but there's definitely parallels to a certain current infection that we can't talk about, otherwise we're going to get flagged on YouTube. So, also I kind of got the vibe that this plays off of an old joke in sitcoms. Roseanne and Big Bang Theory definitely come to mind of how men can't handle the flu.
I did not know that was even a trope. I gotta go look that up.
Tried and true sitcom ingredient where Roseanne, John Goodman, that hulking mass of humanity that he is, great affection for John Goodman. He gets the flu and he's completely knocked out, and Roseanne has to take care of his stuff and her stuff. And again, it's a classic trope that they do, and it's right out of the handbook. But it's kind of interesting that they brought that up and put it in here in a way that kind of props up the themes. What works for you, Scholar Beta?
Okay, so I've got a question. Well, actually, let's get to that at the end. Okay, wait, what can we not talk about and we'll get flagged? Something that's happening right now?
A certain virus of unknown origin, the beer bug, as YouTubers call it. You can't talk about the beer bug.
Oh, we're not going to talk about this. Do you see where I'm in the script? Am I okay to talk about that?
If you want to call it beer bug, that's fine, but they will target. Yeah, if you use the actual word, if we ever get monetized, just cut out our monetization for this video. So.
Interesting. Oh, and I can't wait for that money to roll in. I have a house to buy. Anyways. Okay, so
beer bug is okay. You can call it beer bug.
Let's talk about this beer bug. Questions. Where is Beverly's mask? Why are they not sanitizing surfaces and quarantining the crew? Why not get non-infected crew to the battle bridge to command the ship? This sounds like a negative, but without knowing about the beer bug, as we're calling it, I would never have thought of those things. So honestly, those all turn into positives. And then I think about positives things Beverly does. They don't blame the source. They work for a cure. Positive. They rapid test. Positive. They rely on science. They trust scientists and forgo wishful thinking. Positive. like Picard doesn't stay on the bridge and say, "Don't worry, it's all gonna go away." By the fourth act, it's all gonna be disappeared. Nope. They continuously brief each other, despite unfavorable and disheartening information. So to be honest, all those things could very well be negatives in my mind, but because of current situations and the beer bug, now I notice all those things and I really appreciate this episode for that. I actually got to say, this B plot sounds like they had no idea how to make this episode 45 minutes, so they shoved this plot in there to round it out, and I actually like it way more than the main plot, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's why I'm putting it there.
And it also serves a very subtle juxtaposition to how they do things down on the planet, Angel One.
Yeah.
Because the Enterprise becomes basically a mirror opposite, or the inverse of Angel One, because all the women are able to take over the ship and run it. And it's one of those things where, again, it's really effective in its subtlety there. They don't have that talk or that argument, I can do it, which you definitely see in, if you were to pull that men can't handle the flu trope. That's the deal where, the man asks for something, and in this case, John Goodman asks for something, and Roseanne says, well, why can't you get it yourself? Men, they baby everything. Da, 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 da. You don't see any of that. I think it works really well in how it's there, but they don't make a big deal out of it. And I definitely agree with you in the sense that they clearly added this to make it a 45-minute episode, and it's actually more interesting, especially given modern times, than the A plot.
I wish. Okay, so that's one thing I want to talk just really quickly, if I could. Something that comes up with my kids all the time. They worship subtlety. They think subtlety is the greatest thing of all time. And I think, it can be. It can be. However, I think I would have rather seen a little more of a thematic connection, like a more overt thematic connection, because they actually put Geordi in charge of the Enterprise for a little while, which seems disjointed with, them trying to mirror the matriarchal society with the matriarchal running of the Enterprise or something like that. But then, of course, Geordi does eventually go down, too. But he even has that moment where he sits in the captain's chair and, his hands go on the grips and the music swells. Dun, 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 dun. I think to kind of give him his moment, I think they should just given that to Gates McFadden, and maybe a little later in the episode actually, and then maybe that would have made some sense to me. Yeah, what's your thinking on that?
The original version of the script emphasized that. In the original version were pages written in which they consciously discuss giving her command over the ship, and maybe I've never read these pages. I don't know what the script is. I think it works as it is, and again, they must be clairvoyant, because the events that happen in this script, in this episode on the Enterprise, are almost word for word what's happening in current events now with the beer bug.
Exactly. Okay, and so one more thing about that. I would much rather cut stuff from the surface of Angel 1 and give more to the discussion of Beverly's what is not inheritance of the ship, Beverly's running, management, genius in finding the cure and keeping the Enterprise afloat or something like that. I would have liked a little bit more there, but I like that you see that parallel between those two, because I just scratched my head thinking, what is the connection between these two? So nice. I love that view of subtlety you got there.
I live and die by the mantra that the difference between art and propaganda is complexity, and this is complex in the sense that it's extremely subtle, where it fuels conversations like what we're having. It's, did you see that?
Yeah.
And then we talk about it versus, oh, we heard that. Now we move on. That's what makes it art. You sit there and you talk about it and you process it, and that fuels discussion.
Absolutely.
So, that in mind, what doesn't work for you, Stellar Beta?
Big picture, my friend, I'm thinking this is kind of more of that fantasy of the same vibe that I was talking with you about back when we were reviewing Justice,
Yep.
They all look like white people to me. There are some background characters that are slightly ambiguous, but they're like ambiguously white. You know what I'm saying? Not like ambiguously like darker skin tone or something like that. Like, no, it's pretty fantasy of the same. Was that because it's a rush script, like you said? They got there at the end, they're like, oh crap, we have no idea what to do. Better just pull these actresses or these performers in and throw them in there, whoever we got. I don't know. I'm not sure what happens, but they were able to staff a starbase in 11001001 with a numerous diverse cast. So why couldn't they do that with the Surface of Angel 1? I'm not sure. And this is the strangest battle of the sexes of all time. If that's even what it's kind of supposed to be, the sparring between Riker and the Elected One. It's kind of like we got these strong women that fall into kind of pretty bad stereotypes,
Oh, yeah.
Like, what does the Elected One do? Okay, so we have this woman who's leading the entire planet that's supposed to defy a stereotype, but she uses her sexual prowess to kind of seduce and charm Riker, and then kind of in that really terrible stereotype about women where they're unpredictable and have mood swings, then all of a sudden she's executing people, or trying to put them up into the disappearing laser and make them go away forever. Wasn't that the craziest execution chamber you've ever seen in your life?
Oh, yeah.
That was some strange stuff. I like that they took us right there into the chamber itself. So my last kind of thing on this one, I really zoom out and think about it. I'm thinking about, like, they call this an oligarchical constitution, but, like, am I supposed to sympathize with oligarchs? Am I? So, like, we got our oligarchs on one hand who discuss how they benefit from subjugating men. And then we have stubborn white romantic men, colonist types, on the other hand, who don't want to leave because they have a relationship with the indigenous people of this world. So, like, what side do I want to win there? I don't like any of these people, I feel like they all got some things they definitely got to work through. So, did you any feeling on that? Kind of the battle of the sexes, the stereotypes that we fall into there, the two parties that are warring on the surface. Did you feel sympathetic for them? What's your read on that?
This episode has a lot of laughs. It's one of those things where it's like they flip the script, and this kind of ties into my deal here, where they go into really archaic and stereotypical tropes, where as I said in this part of my notes, it's painfully reminiscent of the original series finale, Turnabout Intruder, where an old love interest of Kirk's pushes bodies with him because Starfleet doesn't allow for women to be captains. And then at the climax of that episode, Kirk, who really is the old flame in his body, goes nuts and gets emotional. And I just get really attuned to a very certain register when people are talking where it's whiny, and that triggers something in my brain because, again, autistic spectrum, you think in pictures. There's very specific things that register in that episode, and I see things in body language and stuff like that that's played out here, and goodness sakes. I get the vibe that the Elected One with Riker is like I got a Harvey Weinstein vibe.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it that way. I got a Harvey Weinstein vibe. And they don't discuss much more beyond that. It happens. They don't... I as you said, I think the B plot's a lot more interesting than what we have here. It's kind of disposable here.
Okay, I don't want to labor too much on this, but in your analogy, who is Weinstein?
Okay,
the Elected One or Riker?
Based on the evidence of the fact that the Elected One wants to see Riker, and she sends him an extremely revealing outfit that says, "I will not see you unless you wear this."
Yeah.
The Elected One is Weinstein. Based off of that perspective, yes.
Okay, do you think it's diplomatically appropriate to wear indigenous garb? I was wondering, was that part of the things we should put under enlightened Trek, or would it be maybe there's nothing approximate in our own culture and time that is equivalent? Maybe I don't know. What do you think about that?
there's a line in the script where he defends wearing the revealing
Yeah,
costume, saying,
yeah. That's why I
"Why
want
not?
to. Yeah, exactly.
I wore XYZ costume on XYZ planet, and I was fine with it.
Furs somewhere. Yes.
Furs and feathers and da 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 da." So, from its own attempt, it's a when in Rome, do as Romans do kind of
Yeah.
mentality, and I guess that makes them more enlightened than looking down on them, saying these people, they're so
Yeah.
antiquated because they have their people dressed like this. So when in
Because
Rome,
they don't run around in pajamas.
right, right, they don't run around in pajamas and have a color scheme based off of the color beige. So
Exactly.
that's my deal there. It's one of those. If given those options, I'm okay with them doing the when in Rome, do as Romans do thing. That's how I rate it up. Go ahead.
Okay, can I two more things about what doesn't work in this? Is that cool?
Go ahead.
One is a teaching point. Actually, both of them are. Okay, this is a lesson in tone. When I'm trying to explain tone to young people in literature, you think about tone in like your own voice. If you raise your voice or if you change in your own tone, but really tone is like how you're supposed to feel based on the presentation of the art, right? And this is all over the place. It's cringy romance. There's
Yep.
that tone. It's medical mystery. It's tense diplomatic negotiation. It's stay the execution at the last second. It's all over the place. I don't know how to feel, and it just feels like I wrote whiplash. All over the place. I just don't know. And then they're cracking jokes at the end about Picard's voice. It is wild and all over the place.
Well, that's a testament of the production. They didn't have a script.
Absolutely. Then that is a pass that you get in revision, right? And if you're shooting with the script, you're going scene by scene and whatever you can get out of the actors in the last second, that kind of makes sense. But in that revision process, I feel like that's where you really try to comb over your script to make sure the tone really, works and is consistent. Okay. And last part, I want to talk. I was thinking, like, why is the scene with Riker and I believe her name is Beata? It's kind of like Beta, but
Beata,
spelled a little, I'm not Beata, something like that. Okay, so why does that seem so cringy? I really want to sit down and think about that. And I'm not thinking about it from kind of the seductress point of view. I'm just thinking about it from like two characters in a relationship point of view. And why does that feel cringy? And I'm thinking it's from a literary perspective, it's unearned. Okay. So, in life, true, people get into relationships quickly. It happens, However, as Nalo Hopkinson, one of my favorite science fiction writers, reminds us that literature is a moral art and that we have to believe our characters are earning what they're getting. And that in a type of relationship where two people, come together intimately, that should be earned. That should be like the climax of a story, so to speak, or set up a little bit more and not just dropped on you, because that's when it feels cringy, when it doesn't feel unearned, when it feels rushed, when it feels out of left field, because we don't have that earning of it. And it also feels like you said, Riker doesn't even want it. So it's cringy for many reasons, but I wanted to bring up the whole why kind of in general do sometimes on-screen kisses in relationships feel cringy. And in this context, we only get 45 minutes. And when we set it up in the middle of the episode, that's just not nearly enough time to make a legitimate feel. See Vosh and Picard and Captain's Holiday as a counter example of how to actually do an on-screen relationship. I'll just say that.
And earning that on-screen relationship and earning the romance there, definitely there. So that's given the behind-the-scenes drama on this episode really overshadows how I view it, because it's all over the place. It's written by people. The genesis of the idea came from two men, one of which had, on the one hand, very progressive views in some aspects on gender, and on the other hand, the exact opposite of that. So that's my perspective on all this. So with that said, should we get to first and awards?
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what the award is for this one. What do you
So
have for us for firsts and facts?
So Maurice Hurley has talked about this, and he hates this episode. He will defend Code of Honor before he
Oh,
defends this one. Yes,
oh,
he liked Code of Honor. He calls it
bold.
a good concept done bad, to paraphrase, in the sense that the
Hmm.
central plot is finding a creative way to off the antagonist's wife. He maintains that Code of Honor is better than this episode. I'm not sure I'll go that far, but they're on the same
Oh.
page. Let's go it that way. But he calls it terrible, just terrible. One of the episodes you just as soon erase. Okay, we're through
Yeah.
this episode, and we're probably not going to mention it again. I don't know. Maybe there's another place where it's appropriate. My award here is the Picard Facepalm Award, given to highlighting an embarrassing detail of an episode, and the whole perfume thing, and to a certain extent, the clothing thing at the end. Total facepalm there. Total facepalm, where Data is like, oh, why perfume? Okay,
You got all of Wikipedia in your head, Data.
exactly.
Google it.
Exactly. I know what they're going for. Not to contradict myself, I know what they're going for, but
Yes,
at the
absolutely.
same time, yeah, there's definitely that. So you have awards for this too, Scholar Beta?
Do we have matte paintings again? Remember matte paintings? They went away
Oh,
for so many episodes, and we have a beauty of one. Check out the surface of Angel One at day and at night. This is going to be reused like 10 times in
mm,
Voyager, in it might even get Deep Space Nine. It's coming back in TNG at least like 3 more times. It comes back in one of my favorite episodes, First Contact.
oh yeah.
The episode, not the film. I love this matte painting. Great. It's beautiful. There's nothing, and I love it at night as much as the daytime version. It's beautiful. So shout out to that matte painting. We're gonna see it plenty of times again. I'm gonna bring it up again.
Oh, that's how
Um,
we'll. There you go.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so and then the Enterprise interior. I was trying to not be redundant and hit something that we've already gone over or seen. So for this one, this was kind of a stretch, because basically it's the stuff that takes place on the Enterprise is all kind of bottle episode stuff because they couldn't really build any other sets for the Enterprise. So I'm going this week with the Turbo Lift because A, the Turbo Lift's amazing, and B, it sets up the pie in the face gag snowball thing, which basically is how Picard gets the virus, question mark. That's tough. So Turbo Lift's awesome. I really wanted to put it in the last episode, the Turbo Lift, because I love when Lore says emergency
Mm.
close and then fights Worf
Oh,
on the
yeah.
Turbo Lift. But I already had so many good interiors, I had to keep it for this one. So there they are, my friends. The Surface of Angel 1 and the Enterprise D's Turbo Lift.
Wonderful. Are we ready for beam out?
I believe we are.
This is Captain Kanaka speaking. On behalf of my esteemed colleague at Scholar Beta, we hope you've enjoyed this deluxe version of Captain's Yacht, a Star Trek podcast. This is a podcast done by two inner-city high school teachers learning how to make a podcast so we can teach those skills to our students in the fields of social studies and English language arts. If you like what you see and like to see more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as both me, Captain Kanaka, and my colleague Scholar Beta are new to the podcasting realm and the video production realm, please give us any feedback you deem appropriate. We could definitely use it. So, with that said, live long and prosper, e malama pono, and see you next time.